welcome back to another episode of CEO Talks. My name's Alicio Castaneda, community's favorite banker. I'm the branch manager for Burke and Herbert Bank in Manassas, Virginia, Prince William County. Today I have the pleasure of being with Mr. Reggie Holmes of Enthuse Creative LLC. Thank you, Reggie, so much for taking some time out of your busy day to come out here for CEO Talks.
Sure. Thank you for having me. Thank you to Rick for the invite, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
No, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I know Rick and you guys are in similar spaces when it comes to branding. I love what Rick always says about Peace Entertainment Media. With you, Reggie, about Enthuse Creative LLC, I saw your website. You know, I love doing my research on the guests we have on our podcast. So you guys got established in 2013. So 12 years, coming up on 13 years.
Yeah. I got started in 2013. My background is in graphic design. So, long story short, I was working a job where they discourage creativity, and
Oh my!
I wanted to be in a place where I could be creative every day, because I felt like that was what really I was put here on earth to do, is to be creative and to use that to help people. And so the longer I spent in this other job, the more I became convinced, like, I need to find a space where I can be using these gifts. And so that's kind of how I got started. I spent a lot of time before I, officially started the business, researching the business process and sort of what you need to do to kind of go out on your own. And then one day I was like, hey, now's the time. And that's kind of how we got started. And really it was born out of that, being in that place where, I was like, I'm not feeling fulfilled as an artist, as a professional. And so I want to do something that creates more value, right? And where I'm able to use who I am and what I bring to the table to create value. And that was starting this company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do want to ask, so you started in 2013. Back in 2013, I'm going to date myself a little bit, right? So I was fresh out of high school, graduated 2012. Social media, I think, was really changing pace, turning into what it is today. I know Instagram had probably just dropped or released within 1 year of 2013. There was no TikTok. YouTube was still just YouTube, no shorts. Short form content still wasn't rolling out. What have you seen, Reggie, in these last 12 years, going on 13 years? How has, in the branding industry, the graphic design, the creative industry, how has things changed? And how do you see that keep changing moving forward?
Sure. Well, in general, sort of taking a big picture look, step back from everything, I would say what has happened is, whether you're a business, or you've got a side hustle, or you're a nonprofit organization, NGO, or just a person with a message, something that you want to share, video has really leveled the playing field in terms of you being able to get your message out, right?
Yeah.
And we have the tools, on our devices and apps and things like that, where you can render a very professional or polished production quality, and alongside the message that you want to deliver, whether it's for commercial purposes or information or entertainment, right? So we have individual creators, influencers, content developers that are able to do really quality work and get their message out to the audience. And it's not just the big corporations that have these really large budgets and can do all the fancy expensive stuff, right? You can, with relatively accessible tools and technology that anybody can have or learn about, you can make really quality stuff that helps communicate your message and your story. And so it's really kind of just made that playing field level, and it's something that the generation coming up after mine, they're going to grow up with all this stuff. It's going to be like native to them. We are sort of learning as we go, because a lot of these tools are being introduced, in the last 10 to 15 years. But
Sure.
people that are growing up now, they're going to have access to all this stuff, and even more things that are going to come down the road, and they're going to be masters of it, right? So they're going to get even better at communicating, at storytelling, at using what we have to be able to get their message out across the world.
Yeah, of course. And something Rick with PC Entertainment Media, we always says is with video branding, it's 24/7. You don't just have traditional, broadcasting channels where on the slot today, 5 to 6 p.m. is when you go out, show your message, get your word across, comedy skit, anything in between.
Right.
Now it's 24/7. People get to know who you are. But with the video, people can always land on your social media, look at a video by Reggie, by me, and be like, hey, this is who this is. This is the message they want to portray.
Yeah.
So switching on that, Reggie, you said level the playing field with Enthuse Creative LLC in 2013. What was your target audience, your target client in 2013? Has it changed? And what is it now? And what's your goal going forward for your target audience and the services you bring to your target clients?
Sure. So I would say that in some ways the target client has remained the same, but in some ways it's changed. So, and I think that has a lot to do with what I actually offer now. So in the beginning, like many people, I was just trying to take whatever projects came. Right. I knew that I felt like my skill set worked best for businesses, and so anything that was somewhat business related, I was doing that project, um, just to get work under my belt, so to speak.
Kind of like building your portfolio.
Yeah, exactly. But I always identified small businesses as who I felt like I served the best, and so those were kind of who I targeted. And as I worked with more of those small businesses, my focus shifted from, hey, I just provide graphic design services, to I really saw a gap in uh, brand structure and brand strategy for businesses, because there are many tools that are available to be able to get basic design for your business. And so that became less of an emphasis for me, and it was more on, let's help businesses set the foundation for how they show up, what they communicate to their audience, and how they make connection with them, because that's what's really missing, right? It's not, you can get, there are a lot of ways to get flyers created. There are a lot of ways to get websites done. And so while we offer those services, where I really saw the gap was on brand strategy. Let's figure out how to help you be positioned so you can be perceived the right way, right? So your audience knows exactly who you are, what value you provide, and how you do what you do in a way that's different than your competitors, right? Because if we think about the basic idea of what a brand is, it's being able to say, hey, this cattle or this steak came from my ranch,
Yeah.
right? Because it's got my brand on it, right? And not this ranch over here. And my steak is better, right? And you can trust that because it has our brand on it, right? And so by putting your brand on it, you're communicating something about what you do, what you offer, that you want people to know and to trust. And so, um, and that's different than just, hey, I need something that looks nice, that I can give, at the business event or put up on my website or something like that.
Get
Right.
people's attention, but it kind of stops there.
Right. So it's just deeper. It's kind of doing the thinking behind the brand before the doing and the execution, which is really important. But when you have the structure and the strategy in place,
Yeah.
it makes any design or execution that you do that much more effective.
Okay. So I like what you said, Reggie. You were looking in the gaps. You started with graphic design for small businesses. That was your ideal client. Even now, 13 years after the fact, that's still your ideal client. You yourself, after working with so many small businesses in your formative years, in 2013 and in your first 3, 5 years, you yourself realized, hey, there's this gap where the graphic design, it's the eye catcher, but maybe go deeper than that? Or was it also open feedback between colleagues in the industry and your own clients letting you know, hey, Reggie, like I love what you do for me for graphic design, but I'm having issues. How did you figure out that gap was there and a need to fill that in?
Yeah, well, I kind of always thought of myself as a thinker as well as a doer, and so as I was doing design, there came to be like a lot of the same types of challenges or questions, and I realized that if I met you at an event, let's say you had a business, you were like, I need a logo design. That might be the core of our conversation, right? And I would get excited, like, okay, this person needs me, right? But what I learned to do is take a step back from that and ask, okay, why do you need a logo design, right?
Nice.
And let's say you do consulting. Well, in this DMV area, every third person is some type of consultant, right?
Yeah, because so it's so broad.
Yeah.
You can dive into little niches. Yeah.
Yeah, so that you gotta, that's not telling me really what makes you unique, what makes you valuable. Why should your client care, and why should they trust you, right? And so those were really the issues that I encountered as I started to go deeper in conversations with prospective clients, and even just thinking about the work that I did. There's a lot of people that do what I do, right? And so how did I want to distinguish and differentiate myself in the market, right? And I was like, well, that need is there. It's not just the deliverables or the creative. People really want to stand out. They want to be able to craft a unique, meaningful message, and they want to be able to deliver that with confidence, with clarity, with consistency. And so my work can help them do that, right?
The 3 C's.
Yeah, I got a lot of acronyms, lots of acronyms and slogans and taglines and stuff like that. That's part of the gift of what I do, is kind of coming up with unique ways to phrase different things. So you might hear a few of those in our conversation.
Please throw as many as you can. Right.
But that's what like that. It helps people remember, right? Like the 3 C's. Like, oh man, so even just kind of being able to put stuff that way is helpful. It's a lot of this branding and marketing stuff is packaging, right?
Okay.
It's packaging and presentation, right? It's not just giving them the thing. It's, well, how is the thing presented, right? How is it packaged up? Is it clean? Is it crisp? Is it something that I can, really remember and hold on to, and like even be able to share easily? Like, so a lot of the work is, it's not the thing itself, is kind of how that shows up to the person that you're offering it to. So
It's full from A to Z, but then the package itself, how it's delivered, how it's presented. It's not just the one thing that a lot of people see, the final product.
Right.
On TV, there's numerous brands, companies out there that we all see. We know their slogans. I'm not going to throw that out there because we're talking about Enthuse Creative LLC today.
Yeah.
But that's what you're focusing on.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. And with you being in the industry 13 years now, going solo, do you consider yourself like patient zero, ground zero, where you yourself, you can work on your own branding? Have you done that? Have you had to redefine yourself, redevelop yourself over the years?
Yeah.
How's that been for you?
Yeah. So great question. I'm in the process of kind of rebranding the visual brand for Enthuse Creative. Right now, actually, I was working on it before I got here, but
Are we interrupted the process? Oh no.
no.
All right.
It's
Yeah, go for Rick now.
it's been an ongoing process. One thing I'll say is, so I believe that brands are a lot like people, in a sense that they evolve over time.
Okay.
And so, people might ask me, hey, how often should I rebrand, or, and so I think it has to be kind of a natural evolution. It's not something that you want to do in a way that is, thoughtless, or not well considered. There are a lot of factors that kind of go into that, but the whole idea being, as your business is moving and growing, certain things will make sense about the brand and how you show up, and certain things won't, right? And so what we're always striving for is alignment.
Okay.
And so I would say the first major shift was when I decided, okay, I want to be positioned more as a strategist than just a design company, right? And so that was a bit of a brand shift, but that didn't necessarily show up in the visual side of the brand. But in terms of the conversations I would have with people about what I'm doing and why it's important, like all of that kind of changed at that time. And so now we're ready for the visual rebrand as we kind of go into Enthuse Creative 3.0, right? The next evolution of it, right?
Version 3, heard?
Yeah. So I just encourage people to think about their brand like a person, right? That you get to a point, where you uh you evolve and you've got to change how you show up in the world, right? You mentioned when you graduated, right? And you're out in the working professional world, the way you sort of showed up every day as a student, very different than how you show up every day as a professional, right? There's a natural evolution in how you look, how you dress, how you behave that we expect because it aligns with where you're trying to go now. And so as your business, you're out there, you're thinking about rebranding, I would kind of start with that. Where do I need to be positioned from a brand standpoint to align with where we are today versus where we've been and where we want to go in the future?
All right. I love that.
Yeah.
So with Enthuse Creative, we're on 3.0, version 3. I know you guys do brand consulting, design services, web design, social media, and advertising. Tell us about how you went just from the graphic design and grown into these different facets of your business.
Sure. So, yeah, like I said, I'm a designer, and I wanted to, that's a very much a doing job, right?
Yeah.
Let's make stuff, make it look good, make it look professional, all those kinds of things, and that's sort of all I knew. But I knew I had sort of a strategic mind and a way of thinking about, because I'm always asking myself about branding work or anything, like why is it important, why does it matter, all right? Cool. And so every business has got a logo. There are businesses with really nice logos that cost a fraction of businesses that spend 6-7 figures on a rebrand, right? And it might not be good.
The,
We
there we know 1 or 2 weeks. They try to put it out there.
so
And feedback from the clients.
Yeah, so what I realize is that the strategy part is really important because it's again setting that foundation, much like a house, right? If you walk by a house, let's say you're trying to buy a house, you got, everything looks good, the lawn, landscaping, window treatments, everything is beautiful on the outside, but the foundation is broken, right? You can't live in that house, and no matter how good it looks on the outside. So that's kind of how I appeal to small business owners when we talk about branding. Like let's not look so much at the external things. Let's look at the core of your message, your strategy, and how you are positioned here. So we can build a great design, a great looking house on that foundation, right? But if we don't get the foundation right, all of this is cosmetic, right?
That's right.
And it's not gonna be credible to your audience. It's not gonna be something that they could trust and believe in, and then want to refer and share to others, right? Which is how you help your business grow. So, so for me, it was seeing that need there, and then I think going forward, it's about how do we. I see myself as, yes, a doer, thinker, but also an advisor, right? And so we're kind of moving into tying branding into some of these other pieces of business, and how a business runs and operates and is successful. So I want to, I still do the work, right? I'm still at the computer pushing the pixels, but I'm really also, in there with the people, with the leaders, with the decision makers, getting them to bring this kind of strategic brand thinking to their whole operation, and not just, the visual part of it, but like every part of their business. Again, so there is that alignment, right? That's super important because the businesses that you and I really resonate with, they're great at creating alignment, and that goes from the way they show up, but also the experience, right? When we go into the establishment, or in your case, into the branch or whatever, right? You're like, there's the signage and everything that the commercials and all those kinds of things. But if I go in the branch and my experience is very different than what I expect, the that hurts the brand, right?
The alignment is
If they're not aligned, right? That's right. And vice versa. If I go in there and it is what I expect and even more, well, then you're now delivering on your brand promise, making a connection with that customer, and there's more likelihood that they'll continue with you. They'll deepen that relationship, and they'll also say to others that have the same issues or that want the same services, I know a great place where you can get that, right? And let's come along with me to experience what I experienced. So it has a positive effect, and I want to kind of just bring that advisory as well as the consulting and creative to small businesses, so they can show up like those big companies, but obviously at a budget that makes sense for them, right? So you don't have to spend all those things, because if those big companies can spend all that money on branding and still get it wrong or miss the mark, it teaches us that it's not all about that, right? It's really about
it's not about the money.
yeah. So obviously you could do more with more, but you can do a lot with less if you're doing it right.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I love something you mentioned about the alignment, whether a business, a brand can hit it or they don't hit it. If it's hard for me to ask Reggie, have you had in these 13 years that you've been doing this by yourself as Enthuse Creative LLC, have you had in a situation where you started with a small business, helped them grow, put the strategy in place, had the alignment of what the business are, what the brand is, and then as they're growing, they're bringing employees under them, and then the employees, we all know employees usually don't care about the business itself, they care about the paycheck. They clock in, clock out. Have you had business owners come back to you and tell you, hey, Reggie, we're doing everything right, but now I have this employee, I'm getting customer complaints. Have you had those situations arise in the last few years? And if so, how have you navigated that or anything similar?
Yeah, I can't say I've had that specific thing happen, but I think what I would say is branding is very much a part of leadership and culture. And so the people that I've worked with, what I've advised them is really thinking about branding as a function of how you lead, and that starts with the individual that is the CEO, the decision maker. You know, even if you are a one person entity, right? You're a one person company. You can have a culture, right? Of course, you are responsible for setting the culture for your business. So when you do grow, you're passing that culture along to whoever you bring into the organization. And so if they're kind of on their own agenda or not really upholding these values that are part of your brand, maybe you haven't communicated them clearly, or you need to build in reinforcement into your operation so they understand it better and can live it out. Because again, the experience is really important. It can't just be something that you talk about at onboarding. Hey, here are our values, right? And then it never comes up again, or it's not. Is it
Like we've seen that a few times.
it's in our employee handbook. You got the handbook. You should get it right? Like it's got to be reinforced, because again, brand is not just expression, but it's experience, and so you got to create that within your organization, whether you're 1, 2 people or 1,000 people.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And I love what you said, that quote. I hope we can clip that one. And there's another quote I saw on your website. So I'm going to be looking down. I love what you said here. Brands are the most effective when they are not just looked at, but also lived out. And that's exactly what you're speaking of right now.
Yeah, exactly. And again, people might think that that's for the really big company, but I'm telling you, one person entity can do a great job of living out the brand, right?
Yeah.
Whether are just solo showing up at the networking event, you got a table at the trade show or the expo, like all of that is a reflection of the choices that you make about how you want to show up, what you want people to see and understand, and ultimately do, because they engage with you. And so it's important, right? And you know, even if you have, you know, a small office space, or you have like a retail space that people come into, everything about how you design that and set that up is creating a sense of expectation, a sense of how what people should experience, right? And so I want small business owners to really reflect on that and think through that, you know. And it shouldn't just be, it shouldn't feel thrown together. It shouldn't feel like things just and even when I'm designing, you know, brand elements, right? It shouldn't look like, you know, we just threw some stars on it, because you know,
So it's gonna be some catch or something.
yeah, we're just, you know, like, really what I was taught and kind of what I believe is there's got to be a reason, a rationale for why everything is where it is, right?
All right.
Whether we're putting together a flyer or we're building out, you know, multi-page website, there's why is it where it is? There's a decision that went into it. And so part of brand building in this way is intentional, is understanding like, okay, we're making certain decisions. We put this here because we want people to see it. That's really important.
Yeah.
And then, you know, our call to action is right here on the website, because once we give them this little bit of information, we want them to take action. You know, do you want them to call you? Do you want them to fill out a form on your website?
Okay.
Do you want them to go to a specific page? Do you want them to download your checklist or whatever deliverable PDF you have? So all of that reflects intentional thought, and that's super important for any business and any brand that you are trying to create.
Yeah, of course. So I know we're talking about the branding on the business side, and even a one person business owner, they set the brand themselves. But I wonder, does that also apply to a personal brand? If a personal brand exists, because we all know these businesses that have their business brand, but is there such thing as personal branding? And what does that look like? And is that something that Enthuse Creative you're striving to keep implementing?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, because as you mentioned earlier, a lot has changed, you know, since I started the business, and one of those things that I see is really the explosion of personal brand. And so, you know, if you think about starting a company, you can name it whatever you want to name it, you know, choose whatever colors and designs you want. But in a crowded marketplace, people aren't necessarily going to understand or resonate with the brand right away. The thing that they're going to connect with first and best is how you, as the solo person, shows up in the market, whether you're trying to sell a book, a podcast, whatever it might be, right? People are going to want to know who you are, right? They're going to gravitate toward whatever personality you bring to what you're doing. And so, so personal branding is all about that, figuring out what are those unique, valuable things that you bring to the table as a person. Because people really, we resonate and we connect with people.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the majority of people are people persons,
Yeah.
whether introvert or extrovert. It
Yeah.
just means where you get your energy from.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you can like a company, but we really like people, right? And I can run into you and we can have a conversation, and I might not even remember the name of the entity that you worked for, even though it's on your shirt, right? Let's say I wasn't really paying attention to your polo shirt, right? But I'm like, man, I met Alicio. He was great. Like he was well spoken. You know, he was articulate about his services. He was giving good examples when I asked him a deeper question or follow up. He actually didn't follow up when he said he was going to follow up. You know, he had factual information, like all that stuff is important, and that's what people remember, and that's what they resonate. And so yeah, personal branding is all about that, and I like to do that work of helping people figure out who I am, and then how should I show up? You know, who I am, what I have to offer, and then how should I show up in the market so people value what I have to offer. And so, you know, I do that through some coaching, some consulting. I have a mastermind group that I'm putting together for people who are, they're either starting a business and they know they need a personal brand to help grow that business, or they want to start a business and if they want to get comfortable with the idea of showing up as the CEO or the face of a business. Because if you've never done it before, that can be very daunting, right?
Oh, of course.
Like I've always worked, if you've always worked for a company, you're like, now you're out there at the networking event, at the mixer as whoever you are, face of your business, right? It can be very scary. It can be overwhelming, but I try to work through the process of helping people really dig into who they are and what they bring to the table and why it's unique, why it's valuable, and why people need to know about it, and then get them comfortable with building a story around that and sharing that, and really showing up with confidence, as the CEO, as the face of the business.
Okay. Yeah, of course. So I think something both you, Reggie, and myself that we've been speaking of is being comfortable, being your own personal brand, going up to people. When you're working strategies with your new onboarding clients, do you suggest both like cold calling, cold emailing, and networking the in-person mixers? Is it a 50-50 split? Like what usually works, or is the personality of your client business owner? How does that come about?
Sure. So I try to make sure we have conversations about what's most comfortable for them.
Okay.
Because some people, the idea of going out to an event, speaking, talking, it takes some work for them, right? It's a challenge. I do think that the nature of just how people work, people want to see the person that is doing the thing, right?
Yeah.
We want to connect with that, and so I try to encourage people to get out as much as they can
Okay.
where it makes sense, right? You got to actually do whatever it is that you do. You got to deliver on that. So maybe you can't spend all your time at events. When I got started, I didn't really know any better, but I was like at every event. I didn't really vet where I went. If it said like business networking, I was there, right? Even to the point of I'm in a walking boot and crutches.
Oh my.
I'd had an injury shortly after I started the business, and as soon as I got the okay to go to events, I was out there, right, hopping around.
Hopping around, shaking hands,
Yeah.
looking as sharp as possible in the building.
So people, they were like, "Yeah, I remember you. You had your little cane, walking boot. You were zipping." Yeah. I was. I'm gonna be out here. I'm gonna make connections. But I think it's really knowing, what works best for you, and then being willing to push yourself and sort of go where your people are. And part of that, but is knowing who your people are. Who is your audience? Who are the people that you want to reach? Who are the people that need what you have to offer? And the better you can identify that, that will help you identify the events you need to go to, the online or virtual spaces where you need to be to find those people. Because at that point, when you've clearly identified, okay, these are the people that I serve the best, that really need what I have to offer. They have the problem that I have the solution for. That will take some things off the table. Like, okay, maybe I like the people at this event, but this is not a high priority in terms of where I'm going to find people that will help grow my business.
Sure.
And so, I think it's a combination of online, offline, in person, virtual. There's no one set formula that I think works for everybody, but there's no escaping the fact that you need to identify, okay, who are your people,
Yeah.
and then show up where they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And right now, Reggie, with going on 13 years with Enthuse Creative, uh, your ideal market, is it the DMV? What does your ideal market look like right now, and your ideal client?
Yeah, so we're able to serve clients across the globe. I think I have always prioritized DMV clients, because back in the day, before the pandemic and the explosion of virtual events, I wanted to be able to drive to a client. If we needed to have a in-person conversation, and I still enjoy doing that where it makes the most sense. But I have clients that I've never met in person. So it's just the nature of the work. You can still deliver
For sure.
without that. But yeah, I like serving clients in this area. I also feel like there are a lot of the people that are my ideal client, which are professional services, consulting type of firms in this area. and many of them have the same challenges that my skill set is really helpful for them in terms of figuring out how they stand out, how they communicate their unique value, and then build a brand that showcases that to the world. So, so yeah, most of them are in this area, but we do have clients out of state. Worked on a few projects with clients out of the country, but I don't prefer that. I really like to work with clients in this area.
Yeah, we actually sit down with them or come
Yeah,
off here sometime.
yeah. Once you've done a good job on their project, like hey, let's meet up and have a coffee and kind of celebrate successful engagement.
No, bro. Yeah, and I also had that question. So you do both. You can do like one-off projects and then also an ongoing collaboration service. You offer both, just depending on the needs of your clients.
Yeah, yeah, we'll go back. So I'm about to hit you with another acronym, but uh or alliteration actually. So there's projects, packages, and partnerships. So projects are kind of those one-off things that come up that people need help with. I do annual reports and things like that for clients. They're seasonal. They're like once a year, big project, but they need some outsourced support for that. Um, Packages are more like campaigns. We need several things over a limited amount of time, maybe 3, 6 months, something like that. But I'm doing a number of deliverables for them. There's some strategy consulting involved as well, and but there's ultimately more than one in product at the end. Well, that type of engagement and partnerships are sort of retainer based. I'm working with this client on maybe building the brand, but also managing the brand over a longer period of time. And we're kind of their go-to partner for any branding or marketing things that they need. So well, these are people that, we built that relationship where they value what we offer and they want to keep that as part of their operation and building growing forward. So we do all three, and yeah, I will say that packages and partnerships are kind of where I'm really focused. But I love a good one-off project that is gonna stretch me creatively and give me a chance to do something that is high value for that client.
Oh, and then going back to what you start off saying, like you believe one of your gifts are your creativity. So those one-off projects allows you to go out and express yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe they've done something a certain way for a while, but now they entrust us to do something different, right? Like take it beyond where it's been before or give it a whole fresh new look and feel. Um, and so yeah, I love those. Those are a different type of challenge, but I like those types of projects too.
Oh, of course, of course. So now, Reggie, after 13 years with Enthuse Creative, are your new clients, is it like past referrals? Is it social media? Where are your new clients? How are they reaching you now versus when you first started in 2013?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say when I first started, I was definitely, trying to find clients and I was doing most of that work in terms of going to the events, like I mentioned, or using online approaches to find opportunities. And I still do some of that just out of habit, I guess. But I get a lot of referrals from previous clients or current clients, which I'm blessed in that way. And then I get a lot of I get inquiries, from people that are themselves have a problem and need a solution and are looking around for, who is a provider that can help me, whether it's on the consulting side or the design side. Um, and then yeah, some people just kind of find me through other reads, whether it's just an online search or website, things like that. So, but I'd say most come through some type of referral from either someone that I've met and engaged with, or someone that I've worked with in the past.
Well, talking about people finding you, what's the best way usually how people can try to find you? Any email address, phone numbers, social media, anything?
Sure. It's just Reggie at enthusecreative.com. We're also on Instagram at Enthuse Creative, Facebook as well. So if you search Enthuse Creative, you'll get us somewhere, and that you can reach out that way. So
All right, perfect. Now I want to switch to something that Rick with Peace Entertainment Media and I for CEO Talks want to start doing is that street interview type questions.
Okay.
The first question I have for you, Reggie, and I think hopefully you got a good story, at least a better story than I would have, is how do you usually deal with rude and fake people? Do you A, drop kick them in the face? You know, you gotta be careful if there's witnesses. You B, brush them off with a smirk, or C, kill them with kindness. What's your go-to approach for that?
I'm gonna say so it's somewhere between B and C.
I thought you were gonna say something else.
Yeah, no drop kicking it. No drop cool, you know. So I brushed them off with a smile, right? So I think I try not to take that stuff personally or internalize that. You know, I think as I get older, I'm trying to like understand. Hey, people come from different places. People got a lot going on in life, and so if you know, in a professional setting, they come at me, you know, kind of crazy. I think I don't know what they have going on. You
Yeah.
know? So I'm gonna do my best to overlook that. Like I feel some type of way, but I'm not gonna internalize that or I'm not gonna take that beyond whatever just happened. You know.
Person had a bad day doesn't affect me.
Yeah, yeah, because you know it's something that they're dealing with or that they're bringing to bring it to it. I think I'm all about, hey, let's be real, let's be let's be professional, let's be cordial, courteous and all of those things. But I realize, hey, people have off moments, people have off days. So I'm not necessarily like never gonna engage with them, but I just look at it like, hey, they have something going on, timing wasn't right, it's cool. I'm gonna keep it moving on. So
That's right. All right. The nice thing is with you being about business branding, personal branding, do you think professional videography makes a difference for brands on social media?
yeah, I think it can. I think you know there's lots of ways to get video done, right? And so I think you should work with a professional when you can, right? Because again, it's all about how you want to show up, right? If you want to show up professionally, your best bet is to work with a professional for sure. Like we alluded to earlier, there's a lot that you can do, with your phone, um, and a tripod maybe, or just a handheld, But I think if it's not professional, it might show up that way, and you know, you can determine if that's gonna damage your brand or not. But if you are, um, and it's also how you're gonna use it, right? If you are trying to compete with people that are using professionals, you should use professionals too, right?
That makes sense for
Right. But if you are going for a different look and feel and it aligns with your brand, then it could make sense to not do that. But I think where it makes the most sense is the marketplace that you're in, the client that you're trying to reach, and ultimately what you want them to think and feel and understand about what you offer, right? And if production quality and professionalism is important, then it makes sense to use a professional to get the best result.
Okay. Yeah. And with you, Reggie, with Enthuse Creative, have you separated like your personal social media from your business social media, or do you just run with one and that's it? That's what you post?
So I have separate for what I consider personal and then what I consider professional or the business.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like it's two different, right? Two different kind of things, right? And so I'm behind it, but I've also worked with interns and things like that, and they've had control of some of the social for a while, right? And so there's an approach that we're trying to take that is not necessarily what I would do personally, right?
Okay.
And so it's different for every person, but I keep a line between them, just because I'm doing some other different stuff on my personal that is different than the business, and so again, in wanting to be clear for people and wanting to create space where I can, I can have conversations on my personal feed or channel that would be, it would just be odd to my audience on the professional, right? And so not wanting to create confusion where there doesn't need to be confusion, and also wanting to keep it aligned, I create separation. And there might be times where they sort of blend, but aside from LinkedIn, where, everything is kind of professional there.
Yeah, that has its.
So yeah. But even there, there's things that are, hey, this is the business message, and then this is me as a, personal brand or person speaking, that's not as closely connected to what I have to say as a business owner. So, but generally speaking, I keep them separate, so they can have space to put out different types of messages.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Usually, when you're rolling or scrolling, I should say, when you're scrolling through,
Hey, I was rolling. I'm rolling too. So
we're rolling, you're scrolling, we're talking, podcasting.
don't roll and scroll. That's not safe.
Yeah, that's not safe for all adults here over 21. When you're scrolling on your social media, whatever platform is your favorite, what usually grabs your attention, whether it's a personal video or a business video, what usually grabs your attention?
That's a good question. I'll say this. I think I use a lot of social media to, so there's being informed and then there's being entertained. And when I'm being entertained, I think stuff that makes me laugh, or just kind of, when people are taking something that's very common and everyday, and either finding something new in it or putting a different type of spin on it. That's what I find entertaining. And also anything that kind of ties into branding or marketing or messaging, those types of things that, get my attention. I think as a person, or, on my personal stuff, I think I like, inspiring stories. I like people that are, when they overcome challenges, or, talking about how they built their business, and those types of things are what really kind of get my attention.
I love it.
Yeah. All right.
Reggie, and then to wrap things up, anything big event-wise, any big self-accolade you want to give, you shout out yourself for Enthuse Creative for the rest of 2025, or anything that happened in the first half of 2025 for the business or you personally?
Yeah, I'll just say that I do have my mastermind coming up, that I'll, reiterate. It's called Stand Out and Rise, SOAR for short. And yeah, it's a small group coaching and mastermind. It's really a mastermind where, we get a group of 4 professionals together and talk about how we build our personal brands, and kind of work through a series of exercises and challenges and modules together. And so, the goal is to come out of that at the end with a story that you can translate into any media, and share with anybody, anywhere, that helps you to be confident and clear as you step out there as the CEO or face of your business. So that's standoutandrise.com. Standoutandrise.com, and we call it SOAR for short. But yeah, if anybody's interested in that, they can check that out and find out more information. But other than that, I mean, just check out what we're doing at enthusecreative.com, and anywhere we are on social, and we got different webinars and stuff like that going on all the time. So, but SOAR is the main thing that we're really pushing for Q4.
For Q4. Well, folks, you're ready here for check out SOAR, check out Reggie Holmes of Enthuse Creative. Well, Reggie, thank you once again for your time. It was an absolute pleasure having you today on the CEO Talks episode.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Thank you so much.